Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, and it's time for more Tales of Revenge. Thank you for joining me today, and let's get right into it. Guy behind me in traffic was blinding me with his high beams, so I violated his retinas with the full force of an afternoon sun. I was driving home from work, and traffic was backed up pretty badly for a few miles. It was stop and go. When I get stuck in that, I'll usually back about 75 feet off the car in front of me, so that I can hold a pace and move at a slow but constant roll, like the semi-trucks do. This way, I'm not participating in bumper-to-bumper move and brake, like the rest of the smooth brain drivers. Some dude in an Acura crossover was behind me, and I guess he was getting upset because I wasn't 2 feet from the car in front of me, driving like a smooth brain. So he gets up on my butt and starts beeping his horn at me. LOL, I think to myself as I turn up my radio. But then he starts flashing his brights at me, which is where I get annoyed. He's in one of those Acuras that has the super bright LED headlights. My car is much lower than his, so his low beams are already pretty bright in my mirrors. Bright enough that I don't want to look in them. The first time he flashed his high beams, it put spots in my vision for a moment. It genuinely hurt my eyes. After the first flash, he waits for about 10 seconds, beeps his horn, and then flashes me again. Now I'm getting pissed. I'm thinking, where the F do you want me to go? Do you really think being 2 feet from the car in front of you will make traffic move faster? Then he flashes me a third time, but this time he held them on for about 15 seconds. Time for the gloves to come off. During those 15 seconds, as I'm looking away from my mirrors, I see my 14,000 lumen searchlight sitting in my passenger seat. At which point, I'm immediately overcome by a wave of chaotic, lawful excitement. What he has just set in motion cannot be stopped. I think to myself, oh buddy, you just opened the wrong can of worms. You're gonna learn today. I grab the flashlight and set it to its absolute max, 14,000 lumen brightness setting. The flashlight has a sensor in it to automatically dim the light if facing down on a table, because otherwise the diodes would get so hot they would melt the lens. The 14,000 lumen setting is so intense, the 57 watt-hour battery can only hold it for 180 seconds, before the flashlight automatically notches down to a measly 9,500 lumens. During those 180 seconds, the light will burn through 15% of its battery power. For reference on just how bright this is, the literal effing sun emits a luminosity of 11,000 lumens per square foot on a bright and clear day. I turn around and aim it straight out the back of my rear window. My car is pretty noisy, so before I turn it on, I rev up my engine to make sure Captain Smoothbrain is eyes forward when I violate his retinas with the full force of an afternoon sun. I hit the power button and can only imagine the freight train of shock and pain that plowed over this man. It was so bright his automatic headlights shut off because the car thought it was daytime. With the light on, I could see him clear as glass through the tinted windshield. He was covering his eyes and looking down, probably screaming. I watched him try and flip down his sun visor, but his hand couldn't find it. As I thought to myself, burn you motherfucker, burn. I imagine my facial expression was similar to that of a 6-year-old, roasting insects with a magnifying glass on a bright summer day. After about 5 seconds of blinding light, I took mercy and shut it off. He proceeded to back way the hell off and move over to a different lane. Was this an unsafe thing for me to do? Absolutely. Was this illegal? Almost certainly. Was it warranted? Without question. Possibly the highlight of my year. Drive safe, and don't be a dick to the car in front of you, because they might just have the tools to teach you a lesson. Yeah, pretty spot on. It is definitely dangerous and definitely illegal, but it sure as hell worked, didn't it? Park your car in a danger zone? Good luck getting it back. Compulsory, not in the US, not an English speaker, not my story, and it takes place in the 90s. This is the story of Mike. Mike managed the warehouse of a hospital. Said hospital was built in the 50s in the center of town. The stadium is on one side, the justice hall on another, and schools on a third side. There is also a casern and 2 other medical buildings around, so the streets are crowded with cars searching for parking. One day, when opening the gate of the landing dock, Mike noticed a little car parked in the hospital internal court, near the 2,000-liter liquid oxygen tank. This model of tank. Of course, it is absolutely forbidden because 1. This is private property. 2. The court has been planned before 35-ton trucks were the norm, and maneuvering is already difficult. And 3. Liquid oxygen is explosive. A car or truck hitting the tank would be a major hazard. It was a small Italian car, no advertisement, but it was the kind commonly used as a second car, or to travel in the Dolomite Mountains where the roads are very narrow. So Mike makes some calls. The car is not owned by someone in the warehouse nor the nursing staff. No doctor has such a small car. The reception made public announcements asking visitors to move the badly parked car, to no avail. By 18 hours, the car is gone. Okay, problem solved. The day after, the car is there yet again. Same calls with same result. Mike called the police, but the police cannot tow it because it is a private place, and the towing company won't do it without police permission. By chance, that day, only lorries came to unload medical materials. When it is time to close the warehouse, the car is gone once more. On the third day, when the landing dock is open, the car is already there. And now, that is a real problem. A 35-ton truck from Germany is coming today. There is no way it can reach the dock without tilting the car and the liquid oxygen tank. It has become a clear and present problem of security. The entire warehouse team exchanged ideas on what to do, but all feasible solutions have already been tried. It is when someone from the maintenance team passed on a forklift with a pallet of plaster bags. It struck everybody at the same time. There is no way the Italian car could weigh more than 1 ton of plaster. So Mike went to see the forklift driver while the team searched for a good pallet. Slowly, with many precautions, the forklift slided the pallet under the car, lifted the whole thing, and went and dropped the car off on a nearby street. In the first 10 minutes, the police are warned that there's a car in the middle of the street blocking traffic. Said car is towed away in less than half an hour. The truck had no problem maneuvering. 2 days later, rumors ran the hospital. It was the car of the director's wife. She worked in a medical building some streets away. While everybody found that Mike made a good move, they waited to see what would follow. It is now a global problem of management. Mike is called to the director. As soon as he walked through the door, he started to explain. Yes, I know it is your wife's car, but... The director went, what? No, I called you for an entirely other matter. I warned my wife several times. She had it coming, that Until the hospital closed 20 years later, the story had been repeated to each new worker and each new medical student. Put your car in a tree if you want, but don't park in the landing dock court, because Mike will make it disappear. Wait, so if I understand this correctly, the forklift driver, when they move the car, they actually put it down in the middle of a public road? I mean, that's hilarious and all, but that must have been pretty risky too. Food thieves at uni got lesions from my food. In first year at uni, somewhere in the west of England, I lived in a large Georgian student house, which had 23 under/postgrads living in it, all lads. We had 3 kitchens, but some people would raid other fridges, and I was sick of people stealing my food. In microbiology, we were doing some experiments with an orthopox virus. Think of it as a much less severe version of cowpox. Harmless enough, they'd let first-year students use it with only masks, gloves, and glasses. Anyway, one of my lab partners didn't use sterile technique on her inoculating loop particularly well, and ended up with a blister on her lips. She used to heat it too quickly and created an aerosol. Eventually, I was fed up with the thievery, and took a little sample of said virus, and added it to a block of cheese. A couple of days later, the 2 perps also had a couple of blister-type lesions around their mouths, which lasted a few days and meant they didn't want to go out. They had an inkling it was me, but I made some cheese on toast in front of them, while ensuring I wasn't cross-contaminating, so came away unscathed. The cheese gets hot enough to denature the virus. My food was never touched again, but I often think how risky this was. So if your food was never touched again, then they must have probably knew it was you then, right? Funny how they never said anything to you about it. Which makes sense though, because they probably didn't want to go up to you and say, oh yeah, I got mouth herpes because I stole your food. Steal the money I need to live? You can spend it on damages. I moved out almost a year ago, and before I did, my mother stole $750 from me. That money took me over 6 months to save. That was almost everything I saved to leave and to support myself, because I was cutting all contact and planning to be on my own. My parents are extremely abusive in every sense of the word. She knew this and wanted to maliciously sabotage me in any way she could. Fast forward to a day before I moved out. I cut the wires to my TV and all lights in the room. I also poured rotten juice into the carpet, 2 2x3 foot areas, and into the dressers and let that sit. I cut the cable box as well. I also left some fish in the vent in my room. When I moved out, I said nothing, left no forwarding address, and cut all contact. My thoughts were, you can use the $750 you stole from me to fix it. My parents are by no means poor. My mother inherited over $1 million from her mother, and my father inherited over $500K from his mother. They are extremely well off. I also paid rent to them, $700 a month. They didn't need the money they stole from me. It was a spiteful, malicious act. Man, I'm really sorry to hear that, OP. That really is awful. And just based off what I know from this post, it really sounds like just going no contact and moving on was probably the best thing you could do for yourself. So I hope you're doing well, and best of luck to you. Anyway guys, that's going to be it for today's episode. Thanks a bunch for watching, I appreciate it. Drop a like and subscribe if you want to see more if you haven't already. Anyway, take care, I'll see you all next time.